Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome to all of our beloved viewers on the Voice of the Cape's YouTube and Facebook page. My name is Ameer Adams, and of course, this is the Voice of the Cape's Matric Revision Program, which is proudly sponsored by the Two Oceans Graduate Institute, an accredited online platform where you can become a primary or a high school teacher by studying in the privacy of your home. For more details, you may contact them on the number 021 829 7015, and that is a contact number of the Two Oceans Graduate Institute, the official sponsor for the Voice of the Cape's online matric revision program for this year of 2024. To all of our beloved viewers on the Voice of the Cape's YouTube page and Facebook page, as you all know, Alhamdulillah, we are well on our way with more of our sessions coming up. We have done various subjects thus far, and for today, we continue with content for mathematics. That is, of course, pure maths, paper 1, where we will deal with number patterns and sequences. Our esteemed facilitator for today is none other than a dear brother of ours, Brother Ameer Rhoda from Supreme Scholar, will be facilitating and conducting today's session pertaining to mathematics. And as a reminder to all of our beloved viewers, please, if you know of matriculants in your family or in the community, please like and share this on the Voice of the Cape's Facebook page and YouTube page. And of course, send the link, share it with all of those who are preparing for the upcoming NSC examinations later in the year, and of course, the upcoming trial examinations that will be commencing very soon. We, of course, make dua and pray to Allah Almighty that Allah Almighty must grant all of those who are preparing for the exams all the ease and success, inshallah ta'ala. And as a means of preparing for your exams, we will immediately call upon our dear brother Ameer Rhoda to facilitate today's discussions as well as today's endeavors pertaining to mathematics, or content rather, for mathematics, inshallah, for all of those who will be preparing for mathematics paper 1. Without further ado, we call on our beloved brother Ameer Rhoda to facilitate today's paper, inshallah. All yours, Habib.
Alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran Amir. Inshallah ta'ala, bi'ithnillah, we'll be going through number patterns and sequences in today's session. So before I go into the lesson of the day, I would just like to recap on the previous lesson that was done by Imam Nadir. So he did a detailed overview of the typical question 1 and question 2 of paper 1. As you can remember, question 1 is usually algebra equations and all those type of things, your factorization equations and your simultaneous equations, your root equations, where you have to use a discriminant and all those type of things. And more complex algebra equation examples that was done by Imam Nadir. And he also did an intro to number patterns. However, he only did an intro to arithmetic sequences, specifically the general term. What are number patterns and the three different types of patterns dealt with. However, and a basic example as well, and a typical exam question. So with that being said, today we're going to go a bit further than what was done. So today we're just going to focus on question 2 of paper 1. So question 2 of paper 1, as we all know, it is patterns, right? So there are 3 different types of patterns that we deal with, right? As we know, it's usually arithmetic, geometric, and quadratic. Now, today we're going to discuss the general properties of arithmetic pattern, right? And specifically the summation formula, the SN formula, as we all know it, and an exam question. So this is basically how the exam question will be tested in your final exam as well as your trial exam coming up. So usually this goes, the first question, question 2, usually is between 16 and 20 marks. And then you have another question 3, that is usually about 8 marks, 10 marks. So patterns generally goes between 25 to 30 marks in a paper 1 exam. So basically, as we can see, usually they will give you an arithmetic series first, sometimes a geometric, it depends, but that varies from paper to paper. That is why I always recommend to each student that when you tackle a question, try to do a question from each exam that there is on the internet. I would always recommend you to do from 2014, start from the year 2014 to 2023, and try to do all the pattern questions. In that way, basically, what that does is you expose the different types of questions. You see, mathematics is all about principle, it's all about practicing the question, it's all about exposing yourself to different types of situations, because the more situations you are in, the more equipped you become, the more skillful you become, the more you can manage your time. Because I encounter this with many students and they always tell me, Amir, how do I manage my time in an exam? And I always tell them that do more questions, practice more. So I like to use this word master. To become a master in a particular topic, you have to expose yourself to all the types of questions. So I would recommend you to, let's say, for example, a whole week you spend on, say, an hour, three different past papers. I'm not saying the whole past paper, specifically a topic from, let's say, patterns. In this case, you do, let's say, 2014, 2015, 2016 on Monday. The next day you do 2017, 2018, 2019. In that way, you cover all the papers in 3 to 4 days, right? And then after that, you will see that when you come by the last two papers before 2023, I guarantee you that you will be able to fly through those questions because you have practiced, became skillful, you saw the different ways they basically test the questions, right? So this is skills that you will develop as you go along. It's just not about teaching these things and all these type of things. You need to like practice. It's not just about mathematics, it's not about theory. There's only so little theory. It's all about practicing all the time, every day. I always tell all my students, practice mathematics. Mathematics is something you need to practice every single day, right? And I guarantee you, each and every student has the ability to get a 90%, even close to 100%. It's I firmly believe each and every student, they are capable of doing that. All it requires is hard work, perseverance, and discipline. All right. If a question is posed to a group of people who wants to be successful, everyone will raise their hand. But not everyone is willing to put in the work. So you should always ask yourself, am I of those who are willing to put in the work or not? So I hope that will be of those who are willing to put in the work. All right. And please, I would recommend you to do this, what I told you. Once you've done all the DBE papers, that includes the end of year and the Feb March, and that time it was Feb March, now it's May June papers. Even those papers as well, because at times those papers can be a little bit more difficult than the final paper. So I recommend you to do all those papers. Once you're done with that, then you go to there's a website on Google known as Test Papers, and that um, you can basically view all the province papers on that website. So Western Cape, Northern Cape, Eastern Cape, and all these type of provinces, you can view all those papers and do all those questions. And I promise you, if you do all that for each and every topic in mathematics, I guarantee you will get 90 plus. So with that being said, that is just some tips from me, right? That will enable you to do better in your mathematics. All right. So with that being said, let us go. Let us go to today's lesson. So this is how a question paper look. All right. So let us go further. So the three different types of patterns, as we know, it's arithmetic. What is an arithmetic pattern? Geometric pattern. What is a geometric pattern? And a quadratic pattern. What is a quadratic pattern? So now I'm just going to give an overview of everything. So basically, arithmetic pattern is a number that increase or decrease by the same amount each time. Basically, in essence, arithmetic is a pattern that whereby you add or subtract a number each time, right? It says addition and subtraction. That's what make an arithmetic pattern. However, However, it's very important to check if your differences are the same, because there's questions whereby they can also ask you to prove it's an arithmetic pattern. That's all you have to do, right? Mathematics, that's why I always tell you guys that do lots of questions, because you see, the thing is, in class they teach it to you one way, in the exam they teach you the reverse, they test it you in the reverse manner, you understand? So it's all about understanding and applying the principle. So it's basically a sequence that has a constant difference, so with addition or subtraction. That's all. Geometric pattern is to do with multiplication and division. And also, you also have to check, but in this case, the thing is with quadratic pattern, I'll explain to you now why I say you don't need to really check with the geometric. You can just check it for T2 divided by T1 and T3 divided by T2. Once they are equal, then it's automatically a geometric pattern. I'll explain to you why. Right, so a geometric pattern is just multiplication or division. Now, the quadratic pattern is a bit more complex than the arithmetic and the geometric. This can be adding or subtracting, but what makes it different is that this sequence has a second difference. Now, you see the fact that it's only adding and subtracting. That is why I said that for a geometric pattern, you can just check T2 divided by T1 and T3 divided by T2. And then if it's the same, then automatically it's a geometric pattern. However, with the arithmetic pattern, it's not so simple. Sometimes there's a difference in the constant difference, right? In what you add or subtract every time. Sometimes it can be different, and once it's different, it's automatically a quadratic sequence, because a quadratic sequence has two differences. But we will cover geometric and quadratic patterns in detail in the next session. So let us get into today's session, arithmetic pattern. Now, the general formula is Tn is equal to a plus n minus 1 times d. Now, a is your first term, n is your term number, d is your constant difference, what you're adding or subtracting every time. Now, I know you always hear this word constant difference. Now, constant difference, the word constant means remains the same. So, with that being said, it basically means that T2 minus T1 is equal to T3 minus T2. So basically, if let's say 4, 8, 12, you understand? So 8 minus 4 is 4. 12 minus 8 is 4, you understand? So the difference remains the same. So that is why we came up with a formula. I'm sure you're all familiar with this formula, which is basically T2 minus T1, which is equivalent to T3 minus T2. I just added on the T4 minus T3, all right? It's all equal, so it's all acceptable, all right? So a basic example of this, consider the following sequence 5, 7, 9, 11. So let me just comment on this. So basically, for example, on this example here, I'm not going to comment too much on this. It's if they have to ask you calculate the general term, 5 is your A. What's your D? You're just going to take 7 minus 5. If we take 9 minus 7, we know it's arithmetic because it's 2. So basically, our D will be 2 and our N will be N. And all you have to do is basically multiply the D, which is 2, into N and 1, and then simplify it. This was done already, so I'm not going to go more into detail with this. So now this is today's lesson, the SN formula, the sum of. Now, generally, if we go back now to our lower grades, what they taught the students is that if you want to calculate the sum of, let's say, 8 terms, you have to, let's say you have 10, 20, 30, and then basically you have to calculate 10 plus 20 plus 30 plus 40. So that is takes a very long time to do. So to do more within a short period of time, they came up with an SN formula, or summation formula, all right? So the SN formula, the sum of the arithmetic series, this is the formula. So if you want to calculate, let's say, hypothetically speaking, you want to calculate the sum of the first 88 terms, then you can just use this formula and then you get the sum of everything. All right? It's like, instead of you taking your calculator and adding each term till you get by the number that they want, you can just use the formula. So as we can see here, Our N is our term number. Like I said, let's use sum of 88 terms. So that means that it will be S88. In place of our N will be 88. And then our A, as we know, is our first term. In place of N, it's the same. It will be 88. And D, our common difference. Right? And then we get our S in our particular sum that we want. Now, that is one way of testing it. Now, in another question, which is very common, they can give you the S in. They can give you the sum of the X terms. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, sum of the X terms is 500. Right? So they're giving you S in here. So that means you have to solve for N. And that is basically algebra. You have to solve it, you know? So be aware of those type of things, of those type of questions. So now this is what the last term. Now this is a more... This is a second option for you if you want to use it. But that's if the last term is given to us. Let's say we have 3, 5, 7, and then we have the ellipse, and then we have, let's say, 39. Let's just say 39 at the end. And then you can use this formula, right? Because L stands for the last term. That is when the last term is given to us. So that's the two different types of formulas we get. Right, for the SN formula, but you can choose anyone, right? But for this one here specifically, this is if the last term is given. Now we're gonna do an exam question now. If you look at this, is a question from November 2023. Now here they're asking 2.1.1. Determine the value of T91. Now, T91, they want the value of 91. Now, the thing is, mathematics simply, the mathematic principles of patterns makes it easy for us to solve this question. We don't need to calculate this on our calculator. We can just use the general formula, the general term formula, all right, to get our T91, all right? So we can already see that 7 is our first term, all right? Now, if we want to get our common difference, we're going to have to take our second term and subtract it from our first term. They're already telling us it's arithmetic, so we don't need to see if it is arithmetic. It's already given to us. So all we need to do is take 12, subtract from 7, we get 5. So we already have our D, right? And then our N will be 91. So, yes. So basically, that's how we get our T91. But this question was done already. So I'm just going to go into the second question, 2.1.2. The S91 question, because that is the objective of today. That is the topic of today, the summation formula for the arithmetic series. Because this 2.1.1 question was covered in the last session. So I just think you can check that link out, and then you can see. I just explained it, but I don't want to waste too much time on 2.1.1. I want to go to 2.1.2. So here they're asking the sum of 91. Now, remember, this is the formula we use, all right? The SN formula. So now, if we go back to our question, remember, S91. We solved our A. Our A is 7, all right? We solved our D. Can we see? We solved our D as 5. After this, once you solve your A, you already have your N. They give it to you. They want S91. The sum of 91 terms. That is what the question is telling us, right? And D is 5. So once you solve those symbols, the A and the D, you just substitute it in, right? And then basically you get the answer. Is 91. It's supposed to be 91, yeah. Right? Is 91. And there's your value. That's all you do. Right? Mathematics is simple. Alright, so they could have reversed this question around. They could have given you S91 is equal, or not S91, they could have said Sn is equal to 21,112. And then they could have asked you to calculate N, as I've mentioned before. So this is what they will do right? They will mix up the questions, and that is why I told you do different types of questions, right? 10 to 12 past papers before you write your exam, and that will enable you to demolish that exam that you going to write, inshallah. So now let us go to our third question. Now the third 2.1.3, this is more complex with respect to 2.1.1. Now in this case here, they're giving you Tn. They're saying calculate the value of n for which Tn is equal to 517. Right? Here in the first question, they ask you calculate the value of this T91, the term 91. In this case, 2.1.3, they're telling you calculate the value of n for which Tn is equal to 517. Now, basically, we write down our general term as we all know, right? Our A is our 7, our D is our 5, and all we have to do here is we have to take this 5 and multiply it into the bracket. Then we get, I just rearrange it because by convention, we always like to put our variable that we're solving for on the left side and the answer on the right side, right? So 5 times n, 5 times 1, 5 times negative 1. Now the thing is, just solving the question. That's all. And then all we have to do is divide 5 by itself. What we did is here, we carried the 2 over, right? And once you carry something over, we know that the nature of the value changes, meaning that if it's negative, it becomes positive, and when it's positive, it becomes negative. And then all we have to do is divide on both sides. Remember, what you do on one side, you have to do on the other side. So yeah, I have to divide my 5 by itself, and then what I do on this side, I have to do on this side to get rid, because remember, I'm solving for my n. I'm solving for my term number. They want to know what is the term number of the value of 517. That's what they want. All right? And then we get term number 103. So my n is equal to 103. And that's how you solve this question. Now, I'm going to go into a more complex type of question. Right? And this is an example with a variable. Now, a variable is any letter X, Y, Z, G, and whatever the case may be that they can use. Now, this is an example of a question with a variable. Now, I don't know if you recall that I told you that the difference remains the same for an arithmetic series, right? Common difference, right? So, with that being said, D is equal to T2 minus T1. And then it's equal to T3 minus T2. And then it's equal to T4 minus T3. Now there's a formula that you need to know. There's a formula you need to know to solve this. And that is T2 minus T1 is equal to T3 minus T2. Right? Because remember that the difference remains constant throughout the pattern. Right? The difference remains constant throughout the pattern. Now, the first question that they're asking here is calculate the value of m. Now, this is why you need to know this formula, because if you do not know this formula, you won't know how to solve. You won't know how to solve this pattern, because you can't solve the pattern without solving m first. You need to solve the variable first, right? And our variable is m. So I'm going to show you how I solved it. So what basically I did was I stated my formula. T2 minus T1 is equal to T3 minus T2, as I've stated before, because the difference are the same. So my next step was I just substituted my term numbers in. Can you see my m is my first term, 2m plus 2 is my second term, and 5m plus 3 is my third term. All right? So basically, and this is very important for you to do, you have to put your terms in brackets, right? Especially if there's two terms in two values in one term, you have to put it in brackets because signs are the signs are very important. Let's say in this case, if you had to be a minus and you don't put this in brackets, you won't get the right value for the m, and that is why you need to put the brackets in so that you can multiply the sign into the bracket. Okay, in this case, T1 was just m. There wasn't another, it wasn't m plus 1 or m plus 2, because if it had to be m plus 1 or m plus 2, then we also had to put it in brackets, because you have to multiply that negative into the bracket. It's very important to always put everything in brackets. I'll recommend put everything in brackets. But okay, the m is it's alone, so we don't need to put it in brackets, right? So now all you have to do is solve for m. That's all you have to do. All right. So this is basic algebra. All right. We on the left hand side. All right. We get m plus 2. Like terms 2m minus m. All right. And 2 remains because there's no other value without a variable. And then on the right hand, that was on the left hand side, and on the right hand side, 5 minus 2 is 3m. 3. The negative has to go into the bracket and becomes negative 2. So it's 3 minus 2 and we get the value of 1. Alright? And now, with that being said, since we simplified our left hand side, we simplified our right hand side, we have to solve for m. So that means we have to make m the subject of the formula. So with that being said, to get m as the subject of the formula, we basically have to get all the m's on one side and all the values with no variables on the other side. All right. So what I did was I carried the 3m over, and m minus 3m is equal to negative 2m, and the 2 over again negative 1, because 1 minus 2 is negative 1. So with that being said, this is getting rid of the negative 2, and we all know that to get rid of any value in front of a variable, you have to divide. You have to divide by that value. So we divide by negative 2 on both sides, and then we get m is equal to half. Now, once you solve that, you solve for m, then you can basically substitute that value of m into the pattern to get the values of each term, to get your values of T1, T2, and T3. Once you are done with that, then basically whatever questions follow, you are able to execute and do those questions, right? So now, the second question entails, if the 12th term is 28, determine the sequence. Now, they're giving us the 12th term. They're giving us the 12th term. Right? They're telling us the 12th term is 28. Determine the sequence. Now we have m already. Right? So basically, we substitute m in place of each variable. Right? In place of m, the value of into m, and then we get our 3 terms. Right? Now, let us solve this question. We have to solve our d. Our d's are constant difference. So basically, yes, in place of t2, 2m plus 2 minus m. And then in place of m, we just substitute the half in as we've calculated in the previous question. And then we get our d. That's the first step you have to do, because they say determine the sequence. Determine the sequence. But they're giving us the 12th term. All right? Now, we can solve for our general term. All right? Now, they're giving us the 12th term. They're giving us the 12th term. All right? So, in place of t in, we can put 28 in. All right? Because they're giving us that value. They're telling us that the 12th term is equal to 28. And then a, we have to calculate a plus in, which is our 12th term. So in place of in, we just put 12, and then t 5 over 2, because we have calculated that using t2 minus t1. All right? And then basically, it's all about simplifying this. You just simplify 12 minus 1 times 5 times by 5/2 in your calculator, and then you just have to carry it to the left hand side, and then a is equal to half. Can you see? So I know that you guys were like thinking, but didn't we calculate m, and m is half? So this was just to show you. I deliberately, I basically chose this question on purpose because I just wanted to show you like there's also ways to prove your answer. You understand? And this you will develop as you practice more questions. You see? So this question did shows us a is equal to half. You see? So we use another approach just to show us that m is equal to half. Right? Because sometimes, you know, guys, sometimes you can make mistakes in your calculation. Perhaps you're calculating too fast or whatever. And this was also very important to double check your answer, to always ensure that your answers are correct. Double check your answer, triple check, you know, do your calculation again, right? And time management. Let me just get back to time management. It's all about practicing, you know, practice lots of these questions, right? And also another thing that I would like to mention to you is that you have to also time yourself. Timing is very important. So a typical pattern question should take you about 20 to 25 minutes, right? So if you do not finish it within that time frame, then basically what you have to do is you have to cut off. So set a timer and do the question, right? And I promise you, the more you do it, the better you're gonna become, the more and the more you're gonna realize how better you can manage your time. And another thing, always start with the easiest question. So when you get an exam, do not start with any question, or you don't need to start with the first question or whatever the case may be. You can start with any question. I would usually start if I get an exam in any subject, I usually start with the easiest question that I know, or the things that I know the best. I know that I'm gonna fly through, and then from there you take it on to each question that you have to according to your understanding. So that's it for today. And yes, this is just the last part here, and there we get our general term. That is our general term basically, right? So this can be simplified more further. This can be simplified this can be simplified a bit more in detail. You can just multiply 5 with 2 in place of n, and then yeah. So with that being said, that's the end of our session. So I hope this was a beneficial session. In the next session, I'll be covering geometric patterns, and we'll do some examples on the geometric patterns. And then I'll also be doing a quadratic equation, the quadratic patterns, right? And then I would like to do some complex questions, very tough questions in the exam, 1 or 2 questions in the exam. But like I said, guys, please, it's almost your trial exam, it's almost your final exams. Don't waste any time. Study every day as if you're writing tomorrow. Do your best. Every second counts. Have a timetable if you need to have a timetable, and set out your plans, what you're going to do, English, mathematics, physics, whatever. Set out your time, and this is just because sometimes I also wish when I was in Matric, I also wish that I had someone to tell me this, and I've realized that only after Matric how important it is to plan your schedule, to plan what you're going to do. It's very, very important to have a plan in action, right? So I hope that this was a beneficial session, inshallah ta'ala, and that I hope that you guys will try to do as I said. And from 2014 to 2023, do all those questions, and then from there take it onto your test papers, and this will help you, because a tutor or the teacher can only do so much. Everything comes from you. Everything, all the effort must come from you. You must go to your teachers. If you do not understand, don't be shy. Go to your teachers. If you're a shy person, you can wait till the teacher's done teaching, go afterwards. But don't sit there and and just go on, and then you don't understand, it's not going to work. And then when it comes to the exam time, you are under pressure, you are under stress, and all these type of things. No, you go and you make sure you understand. You put in your best, because this is your final year, and your final year, most of you are going to study next year, inshallah. So, your final year exams, your final year result, and your trial exam result. In actual fact, all the results of the final year is very important in being accepted to study at a tertiary institution, university. So, with that being said, um, that will be the end of the session. So, Alhamdulillah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, mashallah. We say shukran, jazakallah khair, and thank you very much to our dear brother Ameer Rhoda for so beautifully giving us advice as to how we can prepare for our upcoming examinations, inshallah. As our facilitator, brother Ameer Rhoda from Supreme Scholar, indicated that to all the matriculants out there, you try your best and you leave the rest in Allah's hands, and make sure that you effectively prepare for your upcoming trial examinations, but also for the NSC examinations, inshallah. This brings us to the end of today's session, which was live on the Voice of the Cape's YouTube and Facebook page. And as a reminder, this is the Voice of the Cape's online matric revision program for this year 2024. And this year, our sessions is proudly being sponsored by the Two Oceans Graduate Institute, which is an accredited online platform where you can become a primary or a high school teacher by studying in the privacy of your home. You may contact them for more information on the number 021 829 7015, and that is for more details in connection with the Two Oceans Graduate Institute, which is our main sponsor for this year's matric revision program. Alhamdulillah, once again, as a reminder, in closure to all of our beloved viewers on the Voice of the Cape's YouTube page and Facebook page, please send this, forward this, share this link on the Voice of the Cape's YouTube page and Facebook page to all of the matriculants out there who are preparing for the examination, specifically the maths students, inshallah. We have subjects we are rather covering all the subjects, inshallah, for the preparation for the matric examinations. But of course, this evening session was specifically aimed at the pure maths students, those who are preparing for the paper one, inshallah, for the trial exams and for the NSC exams. And of course, if you'd like to find out more of the sessions and the details pertaining to all of the sessions and the subjects that we are conducting in the Voice of the Cape's Matric Revision series, you may, of course, just check on our Facebook page and the YouTube page in the past sessions, and you may, of course, watch them and, of course, send them to all of those who are studying for the upcoming examinations, inshallah. From our side, once again, we say shukran to our beloved brother Ameer. May Allah Ta'ala bless you and bless all of the listeners, all of the matriculants who are studying for the upcoming examinations. We wish you everything of the very best. From myself, we'd like to say shukran, jazakallah khairan, Baydar Matasi. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Shukran.